Hello, everybody. Welcome to Hold Up, the show where we dive deep inside your childhood nostalgia, pull the movies from your past out to see if they hold up. It's another special episode. I'm not only holed up with Andrew on the Blue Chew hotline, but I'm holed up with Tyler Aldridge, independent animator, worked with Dead Meat, Matty Matheson, and he's working his own short film, too. How are you doing, Tyler?
It's great to be here, you cosmic castaways.
That was such a delicate intro there. You're work with Dead Meat. Also,
It was
Matty Matheson. His own film. Hey, buddy, how are you?
I was trying for something new, so we're going to see how that goes.
New.
It was new.
That was new.
It was delicate. I like the word delicate. Like, usually I don't get delicate.
Very delicate. Well, Tyler, welcome. I hope we don't scare you off or make you feel lesser of a human being after this experience. But thanks for joining us.
Hey, it's good to be here. A long-time listener, first-time caller. I think I've actually been listening since the early prototype Hold Up era.
Oh, yeah, the unreleased Men in Black episode that will never get released.
That's saved on my laptop, by the way. I don't know if you have the original audio, but I have the original saved on my laptop.
Not a fun time.
Tyler, since I know that you have listened to many episodes, is there any one that comes to mind that you think of that, I don't know, maybe your favorite or one that made you laugh or just one that's memorable out of the slew that aren't?
Right off the top of my head, I'm going to say the Batman and Robin episode.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I can't quite remember how you guys felt about it, but I'm a massive apologist for Batman and Robin. Not Batman Forever. I don't fuck with that one. But
well, Chase, how did we feel about that movie?
I think, did we not consider it like that was the worst film we ever saw?
I'm pretty sure it was one of two. Actually, I think we might have said that was the worst one that we have sat down to watch and review. That was the worst.
I've had a bout of hemorrhoids that was a lot easier to get through than the Batman and Robin.
I've come to the conclusion after every single movie that I haven't really liked that it wasn't necessarily a waste of time, and I found some sort of weird entertainment from it. That was truly a waste. That was truly a waste of my time, and I stand by that. And I think that movie should be Fahrenheit 451, just completely wiped off the earth, burned, eviscerated, forgotten. But I'm glad you brought up such painful memories, Tyler. That is a milestone episode. Hopefully, we can create another one today.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I mean, Arnold's not going to be here, so I don't know about that, fellas.
No, or Chris O'Donnell. All right.
Oh, he's here?
In-house,
he's here.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's my roommate.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, here he comes now. Hey, Chris. What's up, man?
Ask him why his acting career was completely derailed and why he just started sucking.
He's gone in the other room to kill himself. So moving on. So we have Tyler on the episode today. Tyler is a great animator. He's going to shed some light on some animation for us. We've been talking Don Bluth. So of course we're going to do Titan AE. That's what we watched.
We like a theme here with Hold Up.
So Tyler, before we get started today, this is something I drop on everybody. And since Kyle's not here, you've got to take the reins on this one. But Kyle usually describes his energy level, and we give him terms to use. So could you describe how you're feeling today using sci-fi terms? You can throw in a little bit of space, too.
Let's see. I'm feeling like I'm driving around on one of those little space scooters that they have at the beginning of this movie, but it's low battery, so I'm just very slowly listing into the abyss.
That's good. That was way better than Derek last week.
If you're listening, learn from Tyler here.
Derek's was so bad last week.
No, I want to hear it. What was it?
It was, you'll just have to go back and watch.
Speaking in a British dialect, and I don't know. We asked him to do something what was the
it was
prompt?
1950s monster terms, and he didn't mention any of that.
That's right. But he started speaking in a pseudo British dialect.
Or an Irish seaman. It was.
He tried to do transatlantic, but it wasn't transatlantic.
This sounds like the opposite of problem.
Yeah.
And Derek's one of the best improvisers I know, so I was actually kind of surprised he fell flat on his ass, but it just kept going, and he kept using conjunctions, and I was like, just just fucking spit it out, dude. Never got anywhere. So
We never got anywhere. Well, Derek, if you're listening, thank you for being on the show. We love you. Good luck on
Yes.
your directing right now. But it's Tyler's time to shine here. So, Tyler, before we dive into this movie, you're a big Don Bluth guy, right? Big Don Bluth fan.
Yeah, you could say that. I'm a pretty big Don Bluth fan. I'd
Yeah.
like to prove my loyalty to Don Bluth to you guys right here, right now.
Uh-oh.
And for all the listeners out there, I'm currently brandishing something, and I'm passing it over to Chase. Chase, what does this look like to
We're going to put
you?
this on our Instagram so everybody can see this, but it looks like an All Dogs Go to Heaven signed
Oh.
Don Bluth photo. This is incredible. I'm holding it here. We will put this on Instagram for everyone to see. This is an amazing little piece.
Yeah, funny story about that one. Don Bluth actually had a Kickstarter. It was actually an Indiegogo, now that I think about it, for a Dragon's Lair feature-length film. I think it was around like 2012 or 2013. And I pitched like $55 to it, and I got sent that in the mail.
Yeah.
Yeah, about the Dragon's Lair film. I think that I think Netflix may have bought it and now are last I heard, it was a few years ago, they were insisting that it would be a live action adaptation starring Ryan Reynolds, of which there would be
Yes.
no Don Bluth animation in this film. So I got a nice signed print off of it.
With
So-
Goldman on it, too, as well.
Yeah, yes, Gary
Like, I didn't
Goldman as
mention
well.
that,
Yeah,
but
long time.
great piece, though.
Hold
Yeah.
up, hold up, hold up, hold
Oh,
up.
no, he's got more.
I'm brandishing something else.
Oh,
What
shit.
is this, Chase?
Is that the same thing?
For all the listeners, I have just pulled out
A
another
second photo, the same photo. Like, hold on. This is definitely going on social media. So everyone listening to this episode, you can go to our social media and find this. But there is a secondary copy of this that's also signed with a different handwriting.
They sent me two of
Okay.
them on accident. So a second Don Bluth, Gary Goldman signature has hit the podcast.
Oh, my God. One framed, one not framed. So what we'll do is we'll auction that off.
Chase, actually, you can have that if you want it.
Oh, my God.
No, you can't. I'm joking. Give it
Oh,
back.
my God. No, I'm keeping,
No,
I'm
no,
keeping
no.
both
Hey,
now.
get your
Uh,
yourself. Okay, give it back. All right.
Well,
let's not get carried away.
As a big Don Bluth guy, you're a great animator, and I've seen some of Tyler's work. It's incredible. Some of the stuff you've done for Dead Meat, and then this short film that you got coming up, which we'll talk about later on at the end of the show. We've been in desperate need of an expert lending their information of animating. Tell me, why do you like Don Bluth's animation style so much? Because we talked about me and Tyler go way back, everybody. We've known each other for a very long time, and so this was something he was always a fan of. And I guess now we can kind of dive into why.
Yeah, that really is a good question, but I think I have a kind of decent non-rambly answer. So when I was a kid, I didn't like dislike Disney films, but I wasn't like super into them, which might seem like a bit blasphemous as an animator, I suppose. But like ever since I was a little kid, I always gravitated toward like Don Bluth's films. For example, like All Dogs Go to Heaven on that print, Secret of Nim, let's see, American Tail, Rockadoodle, even, like.
We got a friend that
Rockadoodle.
loves Rockadoodle.
Yeah, we absolutely do.
Shout out, Leif.
But yeah, they have a different vibe to them than Disney films, and it really does feel like Don Bluth and the Disney defectors, as they were called, like broke off and really carved their own path. Like there's definitely like a darker, more mature theme to these films in general.
Yeah.
Like they
Yeah.
used to scare the hell out of me as a kid. Like, I mean, in All Dogs Go to Heaven, Charlie has a dream sequence where he gets banished to hell. And it was absolutely
It scared the
terrifying.
dog shit out of me, no
Like,
pun intended.
yeah, they just
Littlefoot's mother dying. I mean,
that too. Yeah,
God.
totally.
Did you listen to our Land Before Time episode?
No, I didn't listen to that one yet, but I am curious what
You
you guys
should.
quipped about with Littlefoot's mom dying, because I know none of y'all
Oh,
were
dude.
solemn and dignified about it.
We talked about like Steven Spielberg cutting 15 minutes from Land Before Time because he thought Don Bluth went crazy and thought that the kids would be too terrified to watch the movie. So like that, and then Don Bluth got pissed and didn't want to work with Steven Spielberg ever again.
Hey, look,
Hey, I'm curious. This is, aside from Steven Spielberg, but what if I told you that Don Bluth was related to Mitt Romney, would it change your opinion of him?
Part of me wants to say you're bullshitting, but the other part of me, I completely could
No, it's
totally
his
see
second
that.
cousin.
Second
Mitt Romney's
cousin?
a second cousin. Yeah.
Okay, that's a
they
little
are blood
distance.
relatives.
It's a little distance. Okay, that's
I
not too
mean,
bad.
that means that his parents, Mitt's parents and Don's parents were first cousins. So that's pretty close. I'm
So-
close with a lot of my second cousins. Not gonna lie. So
I bet you are.
So what
Yeah.
you're telling
you
me,
set me up there.
what you're telling
You're
me,
from Kentucky, so of course.
God, and you're Alabama, so you get it as well. We're one of the same.
yeah.
so go
No,
on,
we
Tyler.
in Alabama we go for our first cousins. Second cousins are off the table usually half the time.
Jesus.
But so what you're telling me is we partially have Mitt Romney to thank for Titan AE. Let's get a big round of applause for Mitt Romney, everybody.
Good job, Mitt. We'll
You
see if
could
it
say
holds up.
Titan AE, you could say Don Bluth's entire resume as influences from Mitt Romney. So thank you, Mitt, and thank you, LDS Church, for partially sponsoring all of this great art. You know,
Yeah, thanks all the way
LDS is
around.
Latter-day Saints, by the way, the Mormons. In case you didn't know.
So
But
yeah, we didn't want to steal your thunder, Tyler, but like
No, I'm into this. I wanted to see where this goes. I came in wanting to talk about Don Bluth, and they're dropping this deep lore on me.
Yeah,
I'm just
like-
like,
That
why
was
the
a
hell
little
did you invite me?
factoid.
I don't know shit.
that was a factoid that couldn't be ignored. It's like in
It
his
could have.
second paragraph. It could have, but it shouldn't have, and it wasn't. It's in his second paragraph on his Wikipedia page. I mean, it's there for a reason.
and
Right.
we all know that Wikipedia is the truest form of information out there.
I went and Googled it, and I verified that they are in fact second cousins. So
Andrew's
It's a real
our
thing,
our
Chase.
information guy too. Andrew knows all of our
We just don't ever fact check him.
no.
Okay,
No.
I like
We
that.
don't have
No.
that. We don't have the budget for that.
Yeah, you're right.
no,
We-
come on, Callaway, Blue Chew.
But Tyler, anyway, back to it. So what about? I want to ask you too. Like, so what about Don Bluth's animation style makes him so legendary?
I think because of his actual in-house style is not really that much different from like the actual like aesthetic. In my
Okay.
opinion, is not super different from Disney. It was more just like his stuff was, especially his earlier things like Secret of Nim and American Tail and Land Before Time. So a big part of why I think Don Bluth was exceptionally jaded with working at Disney at the time is because of all the cost-cutting measures. I can't remember if it was Don Bluth in particular, but I believe this was an anecdote by Don Bluth. He said one of the things that really got to him more than anything was he was working on the original Rescuers, I believe, and he was told that the ink and paint department was not going to be painting the irises of characters' eyes. And if you watch the movie, this is like absolutely what it looks like. They're like, we're saving money. We're not putting white paint on the irises of these characters, even though it absolutely looks like they should have white irises. And I think a big part of that, I think things like that compared to the quality of Don Bluth's like films after he broke off. I mean, even in the short Banjo the Woodpile Cat is just, it really feels like Disney, but without the extreme cost cutting that was so prevalent at the time.
Okay.
That's not reasonable.
Yeah, I knew I liked Don Bluth movies growing up, but I'd never like really understood why, in my own head, why I liked his animation a lot more than other movies. I guess it's because like Kyle mentioned it when we did Land Before Time about how real his films
Yeah.
seem to be, and that he let kids grow up in front of us. Like he like talked about like these like really dark things that kids don't really deal with a whole lot, like death and the life cycle. And Titan AE is probably not as dark as some of his other films, but at the same time, we're still dealing with some heavy themes, and especially in some certain parts of it.
There's nothing cookie cutter about Don Bluth films. It doesn't follow a formula like a lot of Disney films, I
Yeah.
feel. And that's why it hits on heavier themes. It doesn't hold back from, the audience, the child audience that is viewing it.
Yeah.
It prescribes to its own thought and what it wants to present.
And
Yeah.
Tyler, do you agree with this? Like, because I feel like every Don Bluth film just feels like its own movie. It feels like it has a similar style, but at the same time, you can't really compare any of them.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable thing to say. I think one thing that really stands out. I can't remember if this is a quote by him directly, but I'm pretty sure it was, is jumping off of what you guys were just saying about like the more adult themes of the films, is I believe he himself said you can basically show the kids anything on the screen as long as there's a happy ending, right? And that kind of rings true with like almost all of his films. Is you see some horrifying stuff in there for a little kid. I mean, the infamous Littlefoot's mom dying, the Charlie gets banished to hell, stuff like that. It gives you horrific nightmares as a child. But, at the end of the movies, even if it's like a bittersweet ending, there still is like a happy ending after all the things these characters have been put through.
Yeah, oh my God, that's so fair. Well, I mean, starting with you, you're our guest. Like, what do you remember about Titan AE as a kid?
Okay, well, it's funny. Whenever you told me you wanted me to come on here for a Don Bluth movie, I was like, yeah, okay, I could talk about. I'm a big All Dogs Go to Heaven fan, big Secret of NIMH fan. I'm like, yeah.
Didn't we talk about doing a troll in Central Park? That was the original.
Whoa, spoilers for the next episode.
Stay tuned, everybody.
Yeah, the next one right after this, he's committing right now. I'm not going to be there, but anyway, yeah. So I thought it was really interesting when he said, "Yeah, come on and talk about Titan AE," and I was just like, Titan AE is the Don Bluth film that I know probably the least about in any way. And a big part of that was, as a child, I was terrified to watch this movie.
Why is that?
I want to know if you guys have the same experience, but I feel like every time I went to the movie as a kid, there would be a trailer, Titan AE was one of them, where the Earth was just exploded by aliens. And, like, everyone dies. They just blow up the whole planet. And it was the Titan AE trailer. And then there was another one where, like, Louis Armstrong is saying, like, what a wonderful world.
Yeah.
And then the world blows up. And so I'm, like, 6 or 7? And I'm just, like, terrified that the whole world is going to explode at any second.
Why was that song used in all like the destruction of Earth like scenes? Like it was like some sort of zombie apocalypse or like a meteor's coming down, and it was always "It's a Wonderful World."
Why were they always blowing up the damn Earth? Was that just
I think that Armageddon did that too in '99.
Is that just me? Am I the only guy who just? I feel like every time I went to old Carmike, the world, I was going to see a vision of the heat death of the universe.
No, Andrew, what about you, man? Did you experience that? Were you scared of the Louis Armstrong "It's a Wonderful World" song?
I was shielded from some of this, I feel. I wasn't always allowed to watch darker things of that nature when I was a kid.
I mean, but it was just like trailers. Like, this is a trailer. You could go see Anastasia and probably see this trailer, and it was blowing up the world.
There's nothing that comes to mind. Honestly, I was more traumatized by like the It TV miniseries than anything. Yeah, because I did watch that.
I cried.
Yeah, my dad didn't give a shit, and I just casually sat on the couch watching. And I remember having,
shout out
nightmares.
Dad.
Thanks, Al. Hey, normally, if that was my mom, she's like, "You go to bed, or we're not watching this." My dad just didn't even, like I said, did not give a shit that his 7-year-old son was just sitting there observing this clown biting and tearing children to shreds. But regardless, I don't remember this movie at all. This is one when Chase was like, "We got to do Titan AE. We're going to bring Tyler on and do Titan AE." Like he said it as if I needed to know or should know what it was, but I had no fucking idea until we set this up. I had no recollection. This was one that completely missed my radar.
So you're going in blind.
Just rolled with it.
Yeah, baby. Yep, I went in bare balls deep, and what happened. So
sounds like you're catching a charge. So Tyler, I saw this movie in theaters. Did you see it in theaters, or were you so scared you couldn't see it?
I did not see this in theaters. I was afraid the Earth was going to explode while I was in the theater, so I did not.
Did you have the VHS?
No, I didn't see this until I was a teenager. I'd seen just about every single Don Bluth film. Like, some of them actually in theaters, because I saw Pebble and the Penguin in theaters, represent Pebble and the Penguin. I saw Anastasia in theaters. I was in, like, kindergarten when we saw Anastasia.
Yeah, I remember that. That's one of my favorite stories.
Oh, yeah, well, I'll enlighten you on that one for Andrew, if you haven't heard this one. So I was in like kindergarten, and like my parents were like, "Oh, do you and your brother want to go see Anastasia?" And we're like, "No, that's a movie for girls." And they were just like, "Okay, well, do you want to see Toy Story?" And we were just like, "Oh, hell yeah, Toy Story!" And the funny thing is, it didn't quite occur to our underdeveloped minds that Toy Story at the time had been out of theaters for like 1 to 2 years. So we got taken into what we believed would be Toy Story, and we saw the Anastasia title card. I'm pretty sure I started crying, and my brother got so mad that he turned around in his seat and stared at the back of the seat for the entire movie and pouted.
I was gonna ask, did y'all have a fucking temper tantrum and just boycott when it came to
if
being?
you ever met Trevor too, that's the most Trevor thing I could think of is him just turning around in his seat.
Hey, he'd do that
movie.
nowadays.
Yeah, he did that during the last James Bond movie. So, wow, it's so interesting because I did see this in theaters and I had the VHS of Titan A, and I loved this movie as a kid, but I grew up we talked about it last week with Iron Giant. I grew up a big like sci-fi monster movie kind of kid and loved like Star Wars, all that stuff. So sci-fi was like right up my alley, and this was Don Bluth does Star Wars. We'll find out how well he pulls it off. But I love this, and I had some of the toys too, which I think I'm probably the only person on the planet that had toys of Titan AE out there. I
didn't know they existed.
Exactly.
Now, so
You still got them?
Thank you.
I do not.
Bring them with you?
I did not. I wish I still had him. I mean, we talked to Derek last week, and he still has his Inspector Gadget from the McDonald's toys.
Hell yeah.
He's waiting to hand that down to Ezra.
Is that the one from the live action film?
Matthew Broderick.
It's just a little homunculus of Matthew Broderick with like a comically oversized hat. I had that as a kid too. I was a huge Inspector Gadget fan of the cartoon, and I was like, I want this Matthew Broderick doll really, really bad.
What's so funny about that though is if you didn't go to McDonald's that much, you only had like his arm and like half his
like
torso and his head.
It's a disembodied torso and a head. Why would you give that to a child?
It's like you had to build it up, and like I remember I just had his like cannon arm and his head.
And we're having his lower portion, lower extremities. That was it. And I don't know whatever happened to it, but you got to build character, Tyler.
You got to build a character at this point. Damn. Well, moving on. Glad that I have the longest running like childhood nostalgia of this, but loved this movie as a kid, and when we watched it, I remembered some of it like vividly, and a lot of it I forgot about because it was another movie that we talked about recently that kind of came and went. It kind of dropped out of the sky. It was popular for a little bit, or at least I remember all the advertisements of it. I remember the music videos.
Oh, yeah.
Does anybody remember the Lit music video? Everybody out there remember Lit? Everybody? Anybody?
Okay, I really want to spend a little time talking about that Lit music video before we get any further in. Did you guys watch that before
rewatched it before we recorded, yeah.
So
it sucked.
Unfortunately.
So
it made me mad.
I mean, they're just jamming out on Earth. The Earth explodes, and they just get launched at like thousands of miles an hour into space, and they're still just jamming. And then they land on like the space debris where Kale is like cutting parts of it off, and they're just standing there jamming out, and Kale just like severs the debris and just like kicks them off and slowly floating into the abyss. And then at the end, they just like die. There's like a spaceship crash, and it just cuts with it exploding, and everyone in Lit just fucking dies right there on screen.
They deserve that though.
Yeah.
Like they deserve to die.
Well, and like me and Tyler were talking about this soundtrack too as we're like watching the movie, and it's like, so you have Lit, which was popular in the late 90s, and that was it. They had like that the Worst Enemy song, I think, was their big hit, but outside of that, it was just a bunch of like if Nickelback had a cousin kind of band, like Butthole Surfers adjacent. like artist out there. It was one of the oddest, most horrific soundtracks I've seen put together.
It was like wannabe Blink 182s, wannabe Good Charlottes. Like they weren't at that level, but they
Not
weren't
even close.
far off.
No, they were far
when I
off.
said they were far off. Sorry, but they tried so hard to emulate that sound, and they didn't. They did not get there. Yeah, just trashy like punk rock music. I don't know. You said like Frosted Tips era
Yeah.
music. I think that hits the nail right on the head.
Frosted Tips and being sent into the sun of another planet,
which is deserved.
I've got one thing to jump off from that, and it's interesting because I can't remember exactly where I read it, but I knew that Don Bluth in the past has like expressed that he does not like to use licensed tracks in his films, and I think that this may have been a first for him with all these needle drops, and it certainly doesn't feel like a Don Bluth score whenever any of these tracks drop, and like
it doesn't. But maybe the royalties on Lit and some of the other bands, maybe like they were very minimal to the points where, I don't know, he turned another cheek. But again, he doesn't seem to be the type of person to pick pre-made songs. He wants a score. He wants some sort of orchestration.
Yeah.
So Lit, The Urge, that was another band. God, like I've never even heard of some of these bands or these songs before. It was just
Jamiroquai was in there.
Oh, okay. I didn't catch that one, but
they played his song like for 20 seconds, I think. But yeah, it's not a well comprised soundtrack.
I kind of tuned out when some of those songs came up. It was like, yeah, just no.
They felt out of place.
Out of the moment. It did. It really did.
Felt very out of place. Before we dive in, too, Andrew, it's your time to shine. I don't know this. I think Tyler's got a little bit of like a headway on this. What we like to do on this show is we like to go through the numbers to see if this movie made its money back. I wanted to see if you can guess the budget of this film.
Oh, shit.
Do you know it already?
I'm going to guess that the budget was... Shit. I'm going to say 50 mil on this one. I'm going to guess it's 50 mil.
A little bit more than that, buddy.
65.
More.
More?
Jeez.
Yeah.
80.
75. But when you Google it, it says anywhere from 75 to 90. Box Office Mojo says 75 million. Google and other sources say anywhere from 75 to 90. So
that's
it was a hefty budget.
high-end animated film in 1999. Was it 99 that this movie came out?
I think so.
2000.
So in 2000, I mean, that's a heavy animation budget right there. That's like Disney swinging animation budget.
It makes sense because the animation is one of the selling points of this movie. Mm-hmm. Clearly, they put a lot into that craft. There was tons of thoughts and work that went into making the animation what it was, but was it worth 75 to 90 million? I bet the producers and the account executives didn't agree when the film only grossed 36 million.
Oh,
36? That's more than I would have guessed. I was going to guess like 25 or something.
Flop. Massive flop.
So it lost $50 million easily.
Yeah.
It did not have a good time at the box office.
The man who greenlit this movie from Fox, his name was Bill Mechanic. And I bring that up because he got fired.
Yeah.
And the reason he got fired is because he also greenlit another movie about 6 years prior or 4 years prior. He also greenlit Fight Club that was a major flop as well. So after Titan AE, Rupert Murdoch and other Fox executives are like, get the fuck out, Bill. You're done. You've greenlit 2 flop movies. But people have asked Bill like later on, does he regret doing that? And he says no, because both those movies went on to be cult classics, especially Fight Club. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, they weren't necessarily revered or pans when they first premiered, but the longer it went on, the more it simmered and the more it had a lasting effect.
I know
Flops don't equate bad movies per se. We know that, but I just want to reiterate that doesn't necessarily mean that a flop is something that's not worth watching or not even worth your energy. So
Tyler, did you know that this movie ruined Fox Animation Studios?
I did know that. I did know
I
that.
believe it.
And
I believe it.
I don't blame Don Bluth for any of this, because when he and Gary Goldman got brought on, I was watching the commentary to this film last night, and they said that the film had already been in production for a year and a half when they inherited this movie.
That's where the $70 million is.
Yeah, and Don Bluth, actually, Gary Goldman said that he really felt like this film was very dominated by the test audience, and so there was constant like change this, tweak this, throw this out, redo this, or whatever. And at one point, they even said that I think 15 or 18 minutes of basically final animation was just completely scrapped. Like, that's a lot of effort. Like, that's a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of things that they just flushed. They basically were just forced to just throw out 15 by 18 minutes of almost completely finalized animation. So this movie had a troubled production, to say the least.
And I want to ask you from a technical standpoint, since you're an animation guy, you can tell us more, especially me and Andrew, who are dumb when it comes to this.
I'm dumb too.
Yeah.
But it seems like in this movie they used a lot of different techniques too, without going into all of them, because that's another podcast for another day. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the techniques that they used?
Yeah, I know a lot of people seem to knock this movie and say, like, oh, the 3D looks bad or whatever, it looks dated or this, that, or the other. I do think people do have to understand that this was 1999 to 2000. We didn't quite have the technology that we had today. Like, it's a lot easier to just get 3D work off the ground and make it actually look good and presentable nowadays than it is, back then. But I think one of the things a lot of people really point out is go back to the 2D, 3D animation hybrid. And there's a recurring technique in here where they do moving camera shots with 3D environments and 2D characters moving through a 3D environment with a moving camera.
Yeah.
It's honestly really technically impressive, especially for the time. Like, now, if the short film that I'm working on, of which Andrew stars in, if you'll remember when we were shooting, we couldn't move the camera if the 3D character was going to be in the same shot as you, because it's just like, we don't have the time or the budget to put into, like, we're going to do a tracking shot with this 3D guy we have to composite, and we need to keep the camera steady. And back then, doing a moving camera shot with 2D characters animated in is really impressive.
Do you think that's something that's kind of like lost on just the common crowd that just didn't kind of catch that, or do people like pick up on that being impressive?
I think nowadays people might have a little bit more appreciation for it, but I do think a lot of people would be very quick to just be like, oh, that 3D looks bad or whatever, oh, it looks corny or whatever. And it's just like, I don't know, I think it's a bit like reductive. I think it's not quite as appreciated as it should be, and they took a lot of swings in this movie, and they didn't hit everything out of the park. And Don Bluth will tell you himself, that's one thing I actually really reading anything he's written or like hearing his commentary, is that he's just very honest about how he feels about how his product turned out, or like how his film turned out. And one thing that really stood out to me, when it's been years since I'd watched this movie, and in my head I was like, oh yeah, this is a very heavily rotoscoped movie. And if you're familiar with rotoscoping, it is tracing over live action footage, like basically animating, tracing over live action actors. And it looks really cool. And I'm trying to think of a good, like, super mainstream example of this. You see it in Smiling Friends with the rotoscope.
Yeah.
The whole thing is he's a rotoscoped guy and over, like, the footage or whatever. Or, for example, like Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings. If you've seen the animated Lord of the Rings films from, I believe, the early 80s.
Yeah, I've seen the clips of them.
Yeah.
Mainly, like, the ring in the nose, like the whole meme from that.
Yeah, and when watching the behind-the-scenes documentary for this, they had actually filmed almost every single shot in this in live action, as in they filmed like live action reference footage they had people floating around on wires for like space scenes. They had the actors floating around wires for the space scenes, and they use that as reference footage for the 2D animation.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's probably some rotoscoping in there, but it seems like they did not rotoscope nearly as much as I thought I remembered in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, you picked up on a couple of scenes too that I wouldn't have picked up on and pointed them out. But yeah, because like watching with you, I picked up on a lot of different things I would have not normally picked up on. The animation here is, when you explained it while we were watching it, I was like, yeah, they did really swing for the fences, but they're trying so many different techniques. I don't know, it kind of came off as jarring to me a little bit. Like, especially like kind of, we talked about it with We're Back, because We're Back tried a lot of digital animation along with like the standard like rotoscoping and hand-drawn stuff. And I don't know, I think it just like all these movies just were a little ahead of their time, and this stuff kind of didn't work the same way, because then you're just taking you out of the environment, because it feels like you're in two different worlds.
It was.
Yeah. I was going to say, there were some funky moments with the animation where it felt like they were just trying too hard or too much. And also, putting that on one of our, a 75-inch Samsung smart TV, it just doesn't always look like it was, I guess, intended. Or maybe they didn't really know what the intention was, and that's when you get kind of the clunkiness. I don't know. That's from a very ignorant perspective, but it appeared that way.
It was definitely really ambitious, especially for the time, 100%. And jumping off of that, you know what I think actually looked really cool in this? I do mostly 3D animation, and the scene in space where they're all wearing the space suits, and they have this kind of toon shader to them, where they have like a black outline around it, and it looks like, I guess, cell shaded is what you'd probably call it.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that actually looked really, really interesting. I thought that was looked really cool.
I thought there was points in this movie where I was like really still impressed. Like, but there was some times where I was like, I mean, when they get on the ship and then the environment goes 3D on you, and then the animation is kind of like rotoscoped or 2D, I think is what you mentioned at the time. And they flip the environment on you, and you're like, "What the fuck?" like it felt like we were high.
I think one thing too that Don Bluth brings up on the commentary is especially in the beginning scene with they're evacuating the Earth with like the young Kale, where he's just a little kid. He said, he was like, we were going for something a little more realistic, and we tried to find a balance between like more like traditional wacky cartoony animation and more grounded realistic animation. And he was like, there were parts that we didn't quite walk the line on it. Like, for example, he cited like the young Kale at the beginning, as he's like, that looks a lot more cartoony and like kind of contrast tonally with like what's going on in the scene right here.
Yeah. With that point, we're just going to move right into the blow by blow, because Tyler, you were just talking about the opening scene. So Tyler, starting Titan AE, where does this movie take place, and what do we get first?
Well, it starts, I was about to say BE, before Earth, and I actually don't think that's right.
But if they're saying Titan AE is after Earth, there has to be a BE too, right? But
that was a long time before this film.
Or DE during Earth.
You know what? Titan DE. This is DE during Earth. That's where we pick up. And fellas, Earth is not looking great at this moment. The skies are orange. The winds are kicking up. Everyone's screaming and running onto spaceships. Something not super cool is going down.
Yeah, we have like some pandemonium here. We have this little kid that is for whatever reason named Kale.
Not with a K.
Not with a K, with a C. Ugh. And he's running around, and then we see this like, we're hearing Ron Perlman's voice. And me and Tyler took 5 minutes to decide if that was actually Ron Perlman, because it sounds like he's delivering this dialogue in a porta potty on a construction site. And I think that's going to be we'll go ahead and say this right now. The dialogue in this film is some of the worst I've heard in a while. And no one gives a shit about the acting in this. There's a couple of characters that do very well. We'll get to them.
Don't worry, we'll get to it. There's one I can't wait to tell you guys about.
There's another one too that's like, yeah, of course they're going to do well, but like Matt Damon plays the adult Kale, and Ron Perlman plays his dad, and Ron Perlman just like absolutely hams his dialogue in. It's so bad. And he's given this overlay, and all in all, like, they're escaping Earth as this like force is coming to destroy it. And he sends Kale off onto this ship, and he's like, I gotta go on a different ship. Doesn't really explain to Kale why he's going on a different ship, but he's got his military garb on.
He promises that he'll see him again and gives him a kiss. And usually when fathers make big promises like that at the beginning of films, they don't hold true to them.
And what else does he give him, Andrew? He not only gives him a kiss.
He gives him a gold ring.
Yeah, gives him a gold ring and says, hold on to this for me.
It's a MacGuffin, fellas.
He puts the ring on the kid, and Kale doesn't really understand why he's holding on to the ring and doesn't really acknowledge it. There's like a touching little piece of dialogue where he's like, I'll be back one day. And he's like, okay. And as he's separating and they're pulling him off, he starts saying, no, not okay, not okay. And that like made me tear up as a kid, not now. As an adult, it didn't hit me the same way that Land Before Time did, but like, that's kind of like some Don Bluth dialogue.
What we were talking about earlier with the like, here's the horrific shit he's going to
Yeah.
subject the children to before the happy ending.
And like I was expecting more, but I think that's like not spoiling anything. I think it gets to the peak of there.
Well,
but we're getting there.
We see what the actual threat to the Earth is, and it's these alien creatures called the Dredge. And they stand out a lot in this movie because they're entirely 3D characters, and they're beings of pure energy.
Right.
And one of the things we see is the Dredge Queen.
They're kind of cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting
They're
design,
creepy.
interesting concept. Right? It reminds me of Area 51 Site 4. If you ever saw that at Pizza Hut as a child and got nightmares, which, spoiler alert, happened to me every time I went to Pizza Hut.
It looked
like
a
lot.
They just look like the order of breadsticks you'd get from Pizza Hut.
No, that look a little better than the breadsticks. But there's at one point the Dredge Queen has dialogue and says, like, we're going to destroy the Earth, like, activate the weapon or something like that. And what I found really interesting in the commentary was Don Bluth himself, the second those subtitles popped up, he had, like, a reaction where he's like, I hate those subtitles. Like, that was a studio-mandated subtitle, and I think it's pretty corny that I think it takes a lot away from like the menace of this unknown alien force whenever we have like subtitles saying activate the laser and stuff like that.
Yeah. And
this is a recurring thing throughout the commentary. Every time the Dredge, any of them talk and there's subtitles, Don Bluth is there's those subtitles again, and I agree with him. Like I do. I think it takes a little bit of the like mystique out of it.
Well, and you're telling us what's happening next because like she says that and they destroy the Earth, and
boy,
it's
did
just
they
like,
ever.
yeah, and they absolutely blow it the fuck up, and then you can hear Louis Armstrong in the background the whole time.
That was a year of work to explode the Earth. Like,
really?
Like that scene in that the behind the scenes documentary, they said that like this took a year of work to like perfect this scene.
Wow.
The Earth's exploding. And nowadays, it'd obviously be a lot easier to do something like that. We kind of take for granted things like being able to just like easily simulate stuff and say something like, I don't know, Cinema 4D. It's probably a lot easier to make something explode and shatter nowadays than it was back then. But like they really put a lot of effort.
It looked
into that.
great.
Yeah, especially like for the time, it really was like really something.
Yeah,
That's where that 75 million went to.
Yeah.
65 million went just for the Earth exploding scene and lit.
You thought Don Bluth killing a dinosaur mom was bad? He just completely vaporized the entire fucking planet. Is that the highest kill count in a Don Bluth movie?
Probably.
I hope it is. I'm trying to think. How many people died in All Dogs Go to Heaven? Was that a gorier movie?
No, I mean him.
Not even close.
Yeah, him blowing up the Earth probably takes the cake as the most kills Don Bluth's ever put on film in a matter of seconds too. Because this scene is not very long.
No,
it's
that
like maybe
blows up real quick.
It's about 3 minutes, and we have our main characters, and we have the Earth gone.
You're 3 minutes into the film, and everyone's dead.
And they've already used 62 million of their budget, and then another 10 million is coming up next when Lit makes their appearance. But Kale he's on another ship. He gets away. There's several ships that move off from Earth. He's with some sort of weird mole-like creature. Like, so they introduced that there's already aliens in this world. Because what is it, like 3,000, the year 3000 or something? I
Like
can't.
3032 or something like that. 3023 somewhere.
Well,
You
it's
know.
AE.
Yeah. So
It's
now.
no longer DE.
Yeah, so now we're going from during Earth to after Earth because the Earth has been exploded into small, like Oreo-sized pieces. And now we cut to the future where Kale is kind of I guess a junker? Is that what we call him?
Yeah, he's like a hard labor type guy.
Yeah.
I think he might have been like slave labor or something,
Something
like
like that, yeah.
Humans are like basically on the bottom of the pecking order of like alien like society. They're
So,
like
and he's separated from his dad,
mhm.
and now there's only a few humans left, and he doesn't. He seems like somebody who's just working for a wage, like how we all do these days.
Yeah.
And he's not going to get anything, and he's like cutting these like ships apart and junking them. Is what I assume he's doing. Andrew, would that be a good assessment of that?
Sure. Yeah.
It's like space debris.
Yeah, he's
Like,
just
I
like
think-
creating space debris, and he's like living on this like space station with the mole creature that's raised him since birth.
I think his name
His
is
name's Deck.
Yeah, it's like Tech
Deck or
or
Tech?
Deck.
I think it's Deck. DEK.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
We'll go with that.
I know, and I want to raise an awareness to this movie too.
No, it is Tech. You're right, Tyler.
Hell
Forgive
yeah.
me. It's Tech.
Hey, that's
Yeah.
why you brought me on here. I know all about that one mole guy from one
The
Don
mole.
Bluth movie. I don't know anything else about Don Bluth, but I really know a lot about that mole guy.
God.
Yeah.
But I want to raise a point here. There's humans in this movie, but they're all white humans. I just want to point that out.
No. Not. No.
Don't,
that's
Andrew.
Not true.
We know.
They're not all white. They're just 99.9%.
Yeah, they're
99.
white.
You have the one
We-
Asian
we-
girl.
And
that-
there was a black girl, a younger black girl, in that scene, not far off from that. Just saying.
Did she have dialogue? Did she do anything else in this movie?
Yeah, she talked. She talked a little
She
bit,
did.
but she
Yeah,
didn't
she did.
pass. She didn't pass the Bechtel test, or she
Oh,
was, she was very flat.
this
but-
movie fucking fails the Bechtel test like from the word go. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe if you count the
Yeah.
kangaroo character and
Akima might have something. I think she passes, doesn't she?
Sure. You know what?
Eh,
Let's give him a pass. Let's do it.
you were gonna say Don Bluth passed the Bechtel test. You're
Bluth?
familiar with the Bechtel test, right?
Something like that.
Yeah. So, Andrew, since he's a new guest on the show, do you want to introduce the Bechtel test to him?
Yeah, we do this when it's necessary.
It's a shout out to Gretchen. We got to
is.
give credit to Gretchen.
She's the one who brought it to our attention. So there's 3 criteria
Mm-hmm.
that needs abide by to pass. The movie has at least 2 named female characters.
Okay.
They speak to each other. The conversation is not about a man. So
Ooh,
I
that
now
seems a little
that
tough.
I'm
Like
now
actually.
that I'm going over the criteria again, I don't think this movie
I don't think it
passes the
does.
Because I
Bechtel
think
test.
anytime that the female characters talked about anything, it was about Kale.
It was about Kale, Corso, or Preed,
Yeah.
or Goon.
Yeah,
also.
she talks about her childhood
Is-
on Earth and stuff like that. But again, she doesn't speak to another female character, and they don't have a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
you might be
worth
right.
mentioning.
Might be right.
So,
So,
not
this-
believe it or not, Titan AE is not a feminist film.
No,
Don
it's
Bluth,
not.
we're still giving
So-
you a pass, bro. Like you
It-
got it.
it's not the-
anything for you, Don.
It's not the most egregious Bechtel test failing we've ever seen because there's some points in this movie where you could be like, ah! But he never knocks it out of the park. But anyway, continuing here, we've got adult Kale played by Matt Damon, also delivering his lines like he's on a porta potty in a construction site. Like I said earlier, he is
You think he's in the same porta potty as Ron Perlman? Like,
probably. They're probably sharing that same porta potty because they're sharing the same sense of energy levels. It is awful. This is probably one of the worst Matt Damon performances I've ever seen. It's almost like he took a phone call with his agent out back and they just recorded that and threw that into the film. It is so bad. Am I the only one? You know,
Not trying to dissent here, but I didn't think it was that bad. It wasn't. What I took away from it is that I don't think Matt Damon is a skilled voice actor.
mhm.
But I also don't know the direction that they were given on each of their
Fair.
takes and what their character needed to be.
Well,
So this could fall on the director quite a bit more so than the actor. I didn't care for another character. We can get into that as soon as they're officially introduced, but Damon didn't bother me.
Well, to be fair to you, Andrew, like we're 0 for 2. Ron Perlman was awful in this, and so was Matt Damon. So you're probably right. It's probably more direction. But Tyler sent us this behind the scenes video of Titan AE, and when I saw what Matt Damon was wearing, I understood why he did so poorly. What was he wearing, Tyler? He was like wearing a bucket hat, like a Porky's bucket hat.
Andrew, I hope you did your homework because I really want you to know what this hat looked like.
I did not, so please lay it on me.
Yeah, Chase, please send that to him because this hat. I'm actually gonna go get my phone if you don't have that because I want him to see this hat really bad. It is like a bucket hat / pork pie hat, and it is one of the most 1999 hats. It's like if 1999 like made a corporeal form for itself, it would be that hat.
Jesus Christ! I'm gonna Google.
No,
this
I just sent it to you, Andrew, so you should have it. But
he's wearing just a plain white V-neck. Come on, have some decorum, have some class, Matt. Like you've shown up to your professional job, you're getting paid millions for, and that's what you wear.
That bucket hat was really popular that day. It looks like in this photo, too, he's on the phone while they're recording. So that's why I was like, this is the energy you're going to give? Like, so was the director just like on strike when this was happening? Like, what was happening? But anyway, we're getting too tied up in this.
Yeah, we need to get along with the plot.
We got a long way to go.
I'm just glad we got the hat out there. I really wanted to talk about that hat.
Yeah, and anybody, just go look up behind the scenes of Titan AE if you want to see what we're talking about. It's horrific. But moving on, we're introduced to Kale. He's not making much money. He's kind of scraping by. And moving along, what happens next, Andrew, after they're kind of scraping by?
This is when he gets his food. He asks for ketchup. The alien's like, "I need ketchup." And it's just some like slop that's somewhat like alive. And
it's not somewhat alive. It is alive.
It is alive. Sure. I don't even know what the hell it is. It's just pseudo alien lunch meal, and you're supposed to be disgusted. It's supposed to feel foreign and unfamiliar. And he complains, and then he goes into this hallway. No. I'm missing a key part, aren't I? Isn't there a part where this is before he even gets into the lunch line. He tries to skip line, but he's told, like, "You're human, get to the back, you got to wait." And he's like, "Hey, screw it. I'm going to fly around, see if I can't get in another way." And he jumps. He has some sort of like motorbike or something like that. And there happens to be a ship that docks as he takes off, and it messes up his landing, and he gets ejected. And I'm rambling, but he lands on the ship. He sees the front hatch window and sees that attractive lady is driving the ship. And I think at this point, that's our introduction to who is later introduced as Akima. But that's at this point he goes in, and that's when he gets served the alien slop. And I believe at one point he wanders into some hallway, and he gets accosted by these two alien bullies. Like, they're really big, and they express their disdain for him and try to beat him up. And then someone makes an appearance to save the day, and I'll let you take it from here, Chase.
Yeah, Tyler, tell us who saved the day.
Or Tyler.
Actually, let me stop you right there. Can you tell us a little bit about the chef first? Because I promise this is going to come back. We're going to come back to that chef. Can you describe this chef for us?
He is small and green and has a really annoying voice, and is probably voiced by someone important.
He's like a cricket.
He's like a bug or a cockroach or something like that. Okay, I just wanted to get it out there. The chef, we're going to come back to him in a little bit. So Kale has...
Are we ever?
Kale has encountered the oafs. First off, I'd like to say I love these, like, two oafs. I'm an oaf myself, and I really like seeing oafs represented on the big screen. But anyway, Corso, mysterious guy who looks like Michael Shannon, but it is not Michael Shannon. It is Bill Pullman.
We thought forever that was Michael Shannon for whatever reason. And, like, knowing good and well that was Bill Pullman the whole time.
It's not Michael Shannon for that.
Because
looks like Michael Shannon.
the animation segment of it, he looked exactly like Michael Shannon at the time.
He looks, not at the time. He looks like Michael Shannon now, because we looked up Michael Shannon in like 1999, and he did not look like Michael Shannon. It was like a prophetic vision of Michael Shannon.
Sorry, Andrew, we fucked up.
I don't see Michael Shannon at all with Corso. Like, his face is too angular. Shannon's is, like, too round, especially his nose. This guy's a little too pointy. His jaws are too pointy.
I'm glad we have a Michael Shannon expert on this show.
He's got the fucking Michael Shannon phenotype. Like, he's got that memorized.
Also, Michael Shannon's like 6'5". Corso is like maybe
it's animated.
I don't care. I didn't get Michael Shannon vibes at all. You mentioned he looks more like, honestly, there are times like when he looks kind of like James Vanderbeek, who sadly just passed away a few weeks ago, but he looks more like him with the hair and the face than Michael Shannon.
Well, I'll say it's 2-1. Two people on this episode thought it was Michael Shannon.
So Michael Shannon ties up the oafs and saves Kale's bacon.
Michael Shannon played by Bill Pullman.
Yeah, that's it. That's the compromising.
We got that.
Yeah,
We'll negotiate.
Whatever.
Down to that. Yeah, okay.
So he ties him up, and at this point, Kale's like, what do you want? All this other stuff, and he's like, I've been looking for you, which is a really creepy way to say that I've been searching the galaxy for 10 years to find you. He's been trying to find Kale. And long story short, because we can dive into all the details, but he just tells him he knew his father, and he'd been looking for him because of his father's mission. And Tyler, what happens after that?
The aforementioned Dredge, who just completely liquidated the Earth, storm into the bar, and looks like they're looking for Kale.
Yep, start shooting up the place.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it seems like they had tailed Michael Shannon's character.
Maybe we should actually start calling him Corso instead of Michael Shannon.
So they had tailed Corso.
Because Andrew's going to have an aneurysm if this happens any longer.
I'll leave. I'll hang up the phone and let you all continue.
It seems like Corso got tailed by the Dredge because they show up at the same time, and they start blowing up the bar. And at this point, Kale's got to trust Corso, or he's gonna die, basically.
So they're trying to escape the bar, and who comes with them, leading the way?
It's the chef.
That's right, that chef. That chef. He's there the whole time. He's basically one of the crew now. And funny that in the commentary they mention that this cockroach, they had originally started being like, hey, maybe we should keep this guy around as the comedic relief type guy, and he's just going to be part of the crew. And he gets vaporized by the Dredge.
He gets absolutely vaporized.
He gets obliterated. He just gets absolutely dead.
All that's left is his eyeballs.
And I have in my notes here, thank God they killed his ass. So much for the new character in the crew. And how do they get to Corso's ship? They do some pretty wacky stuff.
It's very realistic, but...
Yeah, very realistic, rolling eyes. Because somehow they get in an escape pod, and...
Yes, he was looking for an eject button. They get in the escape pod. They look for an eject button. They can't figure it out. They go through these iron doors, which takes off the wings, and then they're launched out. And
the glass is cracking because he got hit by something, so the glass is cracking and they're about to die, and then he's like, hold your breath, and I was like, that's not how it works. And then the glass shatters eventually, and he uses a fire extinguisher and grabs Kale to propel him forward, and they end up on the ship. I was like, there was an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie that proved that you can't do that.
According to Don Bluth in the commentary, he said he insists that you can survive in space for 15 seconds.
He also said exhale your breath, excuse me. So I guess that disallows your lungs from collapsing due to the vacuum that is space?
I think so. All I'm saying is it's realistic. It could work.
I'm sure it is. but they make it on the ship. They're alive and well, and we move on.
And now Kale's on the ship with Corso and his team, and he's slowly meeting the characters of the ship. We met Akima already. She's played by Drew Barrymore, also giving her lines on a porta potty.
This was one that I did not care for her performance. It was very clear to me that Drew Barrymore was not a seasoned voice actor at this point. And
well, Don Bluth
I'll
even said in the commentary, because I did see some of the behind the scenes, he was like, you got to stop being short and sweet. And I don't think she ever accomplished that. I think the character just did not match. The voice did not match the look.
No, not at all.
It's a strange casting choice. Like,
and
even
then,
for 99, it's a, like 2000, it's a pretty strange casting choice.
And then we meet this kangaroo-like character.
Preed is
No,
the
we
next
meet
one we meet.
Preed, yeah.
Preed, the depraved bisexual archetype.
A
A man after my own heart.
He was very latent if he hadn't already, come out or professed to being bisexual or even homosexual.
Played by Nathan Lane, too.
Yes, who is a legend.
And he does a good job here. Nathan Lane nails this
yes.
part.
Nathan Lane
He
is
does.
he's killing it in this one. Like,
Nathan Lane doesn't do wrong, really. So
yeah, when you are introduced to this character and you hear Nathan Lane's voice, you're like, oh man, we're here. We made it to an animated film.
Another reason why, I mean, Nathan Lane is Nathan Lane. He's great. But a reason why I know he did great in this is because it didn't sound like Nathan Lane to me. Like, I knew it was him, but you withhold that information that is Nathan Lane's role. I wouldn't have known it. Like, if I hadn't looked it up, I would not have known that. You might think differently, but I did not catch his voice, which is a sign of a good acting job. So.
I didn't catch it immediately, and then I caught it because Tyler mentioned it, and then I was able to pick up on his voice because he has such a specific voice.
He does.
He puts so much effort into being a different character that it's just like, you're like, wow.
it's absolutely dripping, like his voice. He's really hamming it up with this character.
And so we were introduced to that character who's kind of like a hyena, almost.
Yeah, that or some kind of lizard thing.
Yeah,
like lizard, hyena.
Hyena,
like
lizard with also some like robotics.
Yeah,
like a metal plate.
Yeah.
And I will say this too, Akima. This is pretty important for the plot. Akima's the only other human on this ship besides Corso. So it's Corso, Akima, and Kale. Those are the three humans, and everything else is different forms of creatures and robotics and stuff. And then we're introduced to the kangaroo character, right? That's played by, what's her name?
Gina Garofalo or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably have to go, to be sure.
I thought maybe the kangaroo had like rickets or something. Like its legs were so bowed. I was like, what disease did this creature have when they were young and they didn't get it treated? That was my first thought.
It is a strange character design. Like it's a strange design.
Her legs, and
she's got like double knees, and it's like, I think one thing Don Bluth expressed with this character is like, how the hell do we make something with two knees walk? What does that look like? Like, and it's a valid question. I wouldn't have figured it out.
And that character has rickets. That character has had rickets when they were a kid. They never got it treated, and it got worse and worse over time to the state that they are currently in now. I appreciate the creativity that went into it. It's unique, it's different, it's weird, but I appreciate it.
Definitely unique.
I haven't seen a character like it, I'll say that much. And there's one last member of the Corso crew.
This is the one you've been waiting on.
That we would be remiss to forget this character, and that is the one and only Goon. You are correct.
Or Goonie, as they called him as well.
Yes, that, fellas, for the listeners out there, look, we get it. The character's name is Goon, all right? Like, we get it. The character's name is Goon.
The jokes
it's
write
funny.
themselves. Yeah.
Get it out of your system, because we're probably going to get it out of our system, and you're probably going to have to listen to it. But there's a lot going on under the surface of the character Goon, and I specifically... If you hear my notes flapping here,
there's like 6 pages of notes.
I have some
here,
notes
just on Goon alone
that I found out about Goon, and I'd like to spend a little time gooning with you today. Goon is a little alien turtle creature played by the one and only John Leguizamo, who I will say, he is another example of someone giving a really good performance in this movie. He's really into being
he's
Goon.
excellent.
And that's not even
Yes.
a joke. Like in the behind-the-scenes documentary and the commentary, like in the documentary, John Leguizamo, he loves being Goon. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
quipping. He's like really into it and just like absolutely loves being this character and playing him.
Leguizamo's an incredible character actor.
Yeah, he
so
really is.
That's truly one of the best out there.
And he does a good job with the voice here. He talked about he brought inspiration for the voice from, I can't remember the
Peter Lorre.
Peter Lorre, yeah. He says he couldn't talk for a couple of days after he did all of his lines.
And
Peter Lorre. Okay, I can see that now that you mentioned it.
and
Go ahead, sorry.
It is not just John Leguizamo that loves Goon. Don Bluth loves Goon. In the commentary, he said that I really enjoy Goon because this is the most cartoony character in the entire roster here. Like, this looks like a old school, like wacky, cartoony type character that he really enjoys animating.
Performs like a cartoony character.
Yeah.
Like
These aliens all really do look like Don Bluth characters. Like every single one, they really do all look like. If you said, imagine a Don Bluth alien in your mind, one of these guys would probably just pop in if you'd never even seen him before. So, John Leguizamo loves Goon. Don Bluth loves Goon. Who else?
Do you all love Goon?
Why you even ask? Like,
well,
why do you
I
ask?
wanted to make sure.
Is this like a loyalty test?
I'm a Goon buffoon.
Yeah, we're the Gooner gang here. We all love Goon. And it wasn't just Don Bluth, John Leguizamo, and the Hold Up crew that loves Goon. You know who else loved Goon? The test audiences. The test audiences loved Goon. Every single person that encountered Goon apparently was madly in love with Goon. When Goon was not on screen, everyone would be saying, "Where's Goon?" And on top of that, okay, I promise this is the last one. Oh, no, actually, I have two things.
Why did we get the spinoff? Titan AE DG during Goon.
I mean, that's what this film is. The rest is just kind of set dressing for Goon. And they, in the DVD that I went out and bought at Half Price Books for $4.49.
Hey, shout out to Half Price Books.
For this, on the main menu screen, they have a thing where it's like the maquettes, like the little clay sculptures of the characters that were used in production. They have them spinning on like a turntable and like this like kind of sci-fi like display, and it tells all their stats and everything. And do you know the characters that show up in this? Kale, Akima, Corso, and Goon. Nobody else. The three main humans and Goon, and then it loops back to Kale. They loved Goon so much that Goon is one of the characters featured in the DVD menu screen, the only alien creature. And here's something that'll blow your mind. John Leguizamo really wanted Goon to be a greater presence in this film, to the point where he met up with Don Bluth and said, "Let me record dialogue for every scene in this movie as Goon." There is an alternate dialogue track for this film where Goon is in almost every single scene. So all I'm saying is, Don Bluth, release the Gooner cut.
Yeah, it's time for a Blu-ray edition with Goon. And on top of that, that would also explain a lot of the budget.
Yeah, Goon's got a big asking price. His rate's pretty insane.
Especially if you're having John Leguizamo's like overtime. Like, I'm sure that's why like Fox Animation went under. They were like, "You spent how much just getting like Goon dialogue?" Like subline on the Excel spreadsheet was like $20 million.
Don Bluth, release the Goon cut.
It's funny. The complete collapse of Fox Animation can be directly related back to John Leguizamo. He'll have that over his head till he goes in the grave. That's kind of funny when you think about it.
Small price to pay for Goon, fellas.
Small price.
That's the only reason I'm on this podcast. I was holding that in for so long.
You know,
I'm just glad I got that out.
It's so amazing too. John Leguizamo, who I love as an actor, has been in a part of some real stinkers. And
No,
Oh, he
like
has.
what?
The Happening.
No, like what?
Super Mario
that's a
Brothers.
guy
Hey,
who takes,
hey.
he takes everything. John Leguizamo will take any role and try to make it something greater than what it was written to be. He's just that enthusiastic about the characters and the work that he puts in, and I think that's respectable. So he's not Nicolas Cage, who took on shitty roles to overcome debt. He took roles just for the love of the game, man. Just for the love of the game. You got to respect that. Yeah.
I guess that's true. But moving on, we've established all the characters in
Motley
the
Crue.
Yeah, we've established the Motley Crue. I wish Motley Crue was in this soundtrack instead of
Really?
Lit for the fourth time.
Honestly, Kickstart Your Heart would have been so much better than any of those other shitty songs.
Yeah, Butthole Surfers, whatever they were saying. We're introduced to the crew, Tyler. We're kind of getting the plots kind of like coming together in this little like segment, and we don't have to go through all the details of the plot, but we find out that Kale's ring is a map. And I don't understand how he didn't feel all the buttons when he was wearing this ring, because Corso takes the ring off and he uses a pen to hit all the buttons in the ring, and so we see a map. So he's explained to Kale at the bar that he needs to find his dad because he needs to find the Titan project. And Kale looks on his hand, he sees a map, and Goon is the only one that really can decipher the map to find out where the Titan is. And we don't know much about the Titan, right? Like, we just kind of know it's this thing that...
It's a ship thing, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a ship that Kale's father was in charge of, and it's very important to the human race. That's all we know. And that's all we are going to know until we actually get to the Titan. But anyway, not jumping too far ahead. So after all this, they get chased by the dredge again? Is that right?
Well, they actually go to this planet where the trees are giant balloons filled with hydrogen. And
is this the testicular cancer planet?
This is what Chase has been calling the testicular cancer planet. And he's not wrong, okay? He's not wrong. So they are led to this planet, and they beat a race of bat-like alien creatures. And I don't remember if they touched on this in the actual film, but in the commentary, they said that these allies of humanity, and they show Kale how he can actually... What the fuck? They have him hold his hand up to the moon, and it reveals a map of the map further of some sort.
Yeah.
I don't remember how the hell they got.
One of the main chiefs of the planet puts his hand up to the sky, and for some reason it helps him read the map a little bit better, I guess, or like
he puts it up like to the sun or another star, if you will, and it illuminates whatever's on his hand, and that's when we see it light up, and we see that this is how you activate it. That's essentially what happened.
And this is when the dredge show up and chase him off the planet. Am I right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So
because Dreeb and is it Dreeb? Am I saying it correctly, or is it something else?
Is the
Breed,
the
excuse
zesty
me.
one?
Breed and Goon are back on the ship, and they're supposed to be watching for the dredge, but they're distracted and they don't.
Right.
Listen to reggae.
And then
Yeah.
and then this is where Kale and Akima get separated from the crew. So in this massive chaos, they get taken prisoner by the dredge.
I think one thing that really stands out to me about the hydrogen tree chase scene is that when the ships or whatever, the characters collide with the water, it's like 2D traditionally animated, like water effects, like the splashes and
This
stuff.
scared me watching it as an adult.
It's really well done. Like, it's really something that
Yeah.
I think... I don't know if I've seen a lot of people, like, call that out in particular, but I think it's really impressive. I feel like that's one of the best examples of blending 2D and 3D is maybe some of the water effects animation.
The hydrogen trees looked really cool.
Yeah.
They're really well made.
And then after we kind of scurry off this planet, now that they're captured, what do we get next, Tyler?
Well, the dredge put Kale in a torture device, which is just a giant, like, death ray, and they extract the location of the Titan from his ring, and all seems lost for Kale and Akima, but a plan is brewing. Corso, Preed, and Stith... Help me work through this, guys.
So during this whole thing, they want to keep Kale, right? Because they're
They
gonna
jettison.
but they say jettison.
They
like
do that.
the other one you can jettison. So to jettison somebody, you put them in a little coffin, flash freeze them, and you shoot them into space. And I think that this is a perfect punishment to bring back these days. I think we need more jettisons in society. And so she's jettisoned into space. Kale is still on board with the dredge because they want the location of the Titan. And so she ends up on this planet, and it's really dicey. We're dealing with a lot here. So she's in this little prison system, I guess, and you see all these perverted aliens just trying to open her casket, whatever you want to call this thing. And next we see the crew, Corso and his crew, dressed up like Saudi princes. Well, Corso's dressed up like a slave.
He's like a slave.
And what's his name? Nathan Lane's
Preed and Stith are dressed up as
like Saudi princes, and they're like, we need another slave. This one's just not cutting it. And so they're trying to play this off, and they see right through it instantly and get into like a gun battle. But this whole planet is just really tongue in cheek.
They try to pull this charade with the guard, and the guard does not buy any of it at all. He's like, hey, you guys are fakes. Your clothes are made out of linens, and just dresses them down and just roasts them. He dresses down their dress up, and just roasts them, and Stith just pummels him to death, basically. And that's how they get past this guard. But I think one thing that's really interesting...
Which is weird for a slave planet that's selling slaves to only have one guard on duty.
Hey, I mean, it's Skeleton Crew. They're running at minimum operations.
It's March. It's not like they're a high season.
They're having trouble retaining staff. But one thing that's interesting about that, the dialogue is this just very snarky, almost unfitting for this movie. And lo and behold, in the commentary, do you know who is responsible for the guards' witty banter with the main cast? It is Joss Whedon.
Ooh,
Joss Whedon, as jump scare for everyone at home, Joss Whedon was involved with Titan AE. Yeah, and he apparently was responsible for the very snarky...
There went another $5 million of the budget.
Yeah, for real. But yeah, so just wanted to throw that out there.
God, I hated that fact. I wish you would have kept it.
Hey, I got plenty more, man. Hey, just put a pin in that. We'll come back to Joss Whedon.
Please don't. Please, let's never go back. So they're fending it off, and they end up finding Akima, who is broken out of her coffin and has killed or incapacitated all the sex perverts that were trying to get into her casket, whatever that thing is. And she's taken them all out, and now they've reunited with her and rescued her. But what happens with Kale? Because Kale's still on the dredge ship.
He gets trapped in some sort of energy prison. It's just a block that has walls on each side, but the walls are not physical walls. They are energy. Am I saying that correctly?
You're right. You're absolutely right, yeah.
Yeah, but he's a curious cat, and going up and putting one hand on this wall isn't going to do anything. It might electrocute you. It might send energy back. Regardless, it doesn't do anything. You can't just walk through it. And he eventually figures out that if you put two fingers together and separate them out, you can somehow move that energy wall and make an exit for yourself. It somehow parts the Red Sea, if you will, and you can walk out. And that's essentially what happens. He gets out. He hears the dredge scheming and planning and talking about what they're going to do, and it's really creepy. And he looks down from 100 feet and sees an entire army reporting to this queen or emperor ruler type thing. It's just haunting, and it freaks him out, and he runs down a certain path, falls down a chute, and then he gets into one of the dredge ships in one of the hangars or bays, and he takes off. He makes his getaway as a number of those ships are leaving the mothership as well. That's pretty much it.
I've got to make a point too, because I have this in my notes about this weird scene that I'm going to bring up that has no bearing on the plot or anything. But I pointed out to Tyler because I just never saw this before. But Kale is like sleeping at one point, and he is shirtless, sleeping, which is normal. A lot of people do that. But he's wearing his chinos and belt too. Like he's wearing his full cargo pants, belt, shoes, and socks, and he's just sleeping shirtless. Did you find that weird, Andrew, or am I just being a weirdo for even noticing it?
I honestly didn't notice it, so maybe you are the weird one. But now that you mention it, it's a little odd.
You mean you don't sleep in your khakis and Dockers?
Like
I thought that's what everyone wore.
it's
to
like
bed.
how Jeff Hardy sleeps.
And back on the ship, Kale is asleep in his bed. He's
With
probably
his
pretty
chinos
yeah,
on.
Well, we don't know the chinos are there yet, but so he's asleep in his bed, and out of nowhere, the door bursts open, and it's the dredge, and they just execute him like right on the spot.
This is like this is what Don Bluth does. He has to have some sort of horrific nightmare in all of his movies. That's like a checkbox I think he's got to have.
And this turns out to be a dream sequence. One thing in the commentary that was really funny was the scene where Kale just gets obliterated. Don Bluth just says, "We should have just ended the movie here and saved a ton of money."
That's what we were wanting to do for Matt Damon's performance too. Like we just wanted to end it and execute all the characters. But what happens next, Tyler? Like I think we're getting to a big turning point in this movie.
Yeah, some stuff is happening. So Kale is reunited with the crew, and out of nowhere, they see an ominous blue glow coming from the captain's quarters, and you hear Corso screaming at someone about a deal, and they roll up, and it turns out Corso is basically a double agent for the dredge. Like he's completely sold them
paid
out.
off.
Yeah, he's bought and paid for, and he's basically delivering them to the dredge.
This turn goes over like a wet fart.
It happens out of nowhere, and in the commentary too, Don Bluth said that he really wished he had been able to foreshadow like Corso's turn a little more, and also his inner turmoil with selling out his fellow humans, because we don't really get a lot of that in this movie.
There's not a lot of character development in this movie at all.
Yeah,
like the dialogue is very short, and it feels like we're breezing through all this stuff, but it is how the movie plays out. It's very breezy. It's like point A to point B. Kale and Akima get the most character development because of the voice acting that we get, like from both of those characters. It's just like nobody, you don't care about a character here. You just hoping the next Earth blows up too. And so
but was after Other Earth,
after Earth squared. So we find out he turns on him, and they take Kale hostage, right? And
they try to capture Kale and Akima, but they manage to get out, and they escape to a human colony, a drifter colony. Is that what happens?
Yeah, because that's where we get Akima. She grew up as a drifter.
Yeah, she grew up in a drifter colony.
So they end up in a drifter colony, and then what happens next, Andrew, while they're on this drifter colony? Heavily Asian drifter colony.
It's called New Bangkok, I believe.
New Bangkok, yes. They find a spaceship, and they fix it up, and they make it operable, and they fly off to where the Titan AE
because they know the destination. They've learned this from Groon.
Yeah.
And now it's a race against time because Corso's also heading towards the Titan. He's given up on Kale. He's like, oh, he's going to die out there. It's fine or whatever. He's out of my way. I'm going to go find the Titan so I can deliver it to the dredge. And Kale's like, I got to get to the Titan before Corso gets to the Titan. So that's what sets our characters in motion.
It's a race to the Titan between the two parties here.
Yeah.
And to get to the Titan, so how are they going to get to the Titan without a ship? Well, in the drifter colony, there's a dilapidated, like, very old and in disrepair ship. And
that's the one that they
yeah.
put together. They work on the
Yeah.
engineering to get it serviceable, and Yeah, that they do it within a 2 minutes montage,
To
and they're up and
lit.
running.
It is a lit
Yeah,
sun.
it's a very dilapidated old ship, and they get it up and running in about 23 minutes, all set to Lit's Over My Head, the track that was
Yeah.
written for this film, by the way.
Right, the one we watched the music video
Yeah, so
for.
they just bang it out in a montage just real quick. They get this thing off the ground.
They had that weirdo too with the dog that sold them the ship.
There was a weird guy that looked. I don't know if we have any Philips CDI fans in here, but he looked exactly like I Am Mean from that one CDI game that's in all the YouTube poops. I should know what the game is actually called, but I know the guy, but not the game he's from. I know him from YouTube poops, but that's it.
Oh God, he's so strange looking. He has this dog with him in space, and I don't know. He kind of just comes and goes as this weird little like real estate type character that's selling them this ship.
We don't even get an introduction to this
Well,
guy.
we
I
don't get a
think.
name.
He's just there when they walk in the ship. And
Andrew, what's his name?
Don
Great.
Bluth.
name's
Don Bluth. Don Bluth, everyone.
Don Bluth's
as
character.
himself.
No, spelled differently. It's DAWN. It's spelled the female way.
Don Bluth.
Bi-curious real estate agent selling spaceships to a drifter colony with his dog Hampton.
I think his name should be Hampton. But anyway, enough about what we do on the weekends.
So they get the ship up and running, and they're taking off towards the Titan. And then Andrew, there's a segment in time where they're in this like ice kind of asteroid field. Can you what happens in that field?
So I thought it was a pretty cool scene. They were followed there by Corso and company. They know that they're on the way to the Titan. They follow him there. They meet him there. But this is it's an ice field, but also an asteroid field. So there's all these, they kind of look like giant snowflakes, like really thick snowflakes that are gathered in this section, meaning there's tons of capability for reflection and confusion. It's almost like being in like a mirror maze. Really liked the animation for this. It was very cool, very much like a 3D creation for these ice asteroids. But they get there and they play this little cat and mouse game with Corso and his crew because you see the ship move, but because of like the mirror maze effect, you don't exactly know if it's a reflection or if it's the actual ship. So you kind of have to use like heat detection to figure out who is where. So it's a lot of like stopping and starting and stopping and starting and trying to get from point A to point B to maybe point D, all while trying to confuse the other as to whether is that the real ship or is that a reflection. And meanwhile, you got ice particles and ice asteroids crashing into you, creating all sorts of issues. But it was like a suspenseful little game between the two parties and way to the Titan. And I believe Hema and Kale eventually break free, confuse the hell out of Kale and them, and they get a head start and they make it to said ship.
Yeah, they leave them in the dust because they get trapped in the ice field. And when they get to the Titan, too, I think this was the point where Kale and Akima open the Titan and we're kind of understanding for the first time what this ship is all about. Because when they get there, they don't explain anything, and they start looking around. They find genetic material for, like, dolphins and other animals. And that's when I looked at Tyler, and I was like, how is this genetic material still viable? Because this ship's been just dormant and without power and energy, and I'm sure you have to freeze genetic material or at least keep it cool, and there was none of that. It was just kind of like refrigerated life at that point.
Yeah.
They've just got a bunch of dolphin fetuses just sitting out unrefrigerated and melting on the counter.
And
like, it's generally not good for...
And I think Tyler made the point of the night, too, and we skipped over this, but I'm going to bring it up now, especially with the unrefrigerated dolphin fetuses.
God.
There was a segment where somebody was drinking green liquid.
It was a Corso and Kale are having a heart-to-heart.
A spirited beverage, and it looked like Mountain Dew, And then that's when it kind of clicked to me and Tyler that this whole movie is just a giant Mountain Dew advertisement. Andrew, did you feel the same way? Did you feel like you were watching Mountain Dew, the movie?
The music fits that mood, fits that vibe. That's exactly what this is.
Titan AE is like if Mountain Dew was a movie. Put that on the poster.
Now there's Code Red, there's Baja Blast. There was one other
Pepsi Blue, baby.
There's one other Mountain Dew flavor that would be perfect.
Midnight, wasn't it? Or was it like a midnight Mountain?
I don't think they had that back then, though.
What would
I don't think so
there was a
either.
Mountain Dew Black too.
That's maybe what I'm thinking of.
It was like, it looks like a bottle of Symbiote.
Was it the Pitch Black?
Yeah, it was Pitch Black.
Pitch Black. So that all of those. That's what this movie's advertising right here.
Wire is what I was thinking of.
Live Wire.
That's what makes me think of this.
The dreads just make me think Pepsi Blue. If anyone remembers Pepsi Blue, there's some nostalgia. The one that nobody liked when it was out. I remember I tried. I was like, oh boy, Blue Pepsi as a kid, and I tried it, and I was like, this fucking sucks. But
I can't even remember what that tasted like.
It was like Pepsi, but blue. I don't know what other way to describe it.
It's like blue raspberry Pepsi.
Before we get too far away from it, I do want to talk a little bit more about that ice field scene. I really think this is one of the most technically impressive 3D segments in the entire film. And one of the reasons why it looks so good is some of the alumni who worked on The Phantom Menace actually worked on this scene. And I believe it was Persistence of Vision Design Entertainment. And another thing, too, is this is a unique, Andrew was talking about this earlier, but this is a really good example of a unique chase scene in space. How many times in Star Wars have you seen, it's like a space chase, and it's just like, okay, ships flying around, flipping around, and doing all this kind of stuff. But this is a lot more slower and methodical. Like you said, it was a game of cat and mouse. And one thing that also is really impressive me about this scene is all of the reflections in the ice, those are all manually composited in After Effects, I believe.
That's very impressive.
That is very impressive. Yeah, that is all manually composited. But yeah, if that were me, I would have been like, okay, yeah, I'm just going to make this ice like super reflective and whoop-de-doo. That's awesome. You know, we could just, it's that easy nowadays. But they went through a lot of trouble. Like, you see how many different variations of that ship is like floating around and all those reflections? Like, that is
there were like 10 or 12.
Yeah, that is
each frame.
Yeah, that is a lot of work. So like, shout out to them. Like, I'm a big fan of that ice scene.
Yeah, it was very spectacular because I remember you and I weren't even talking because we were making jokes most of the movie, especially the Mountain Dew jokes. At that point, I remember us both being quiet and just kind of enjoying that scene.
It's really vibey. Like, it looks really good. Like, it looks really good.
And it's a good, like, cat and mouse chase scene, too.
Yeah, the concept is cool. You don't see an idea of your opponents or nemesis being confused by your reflection or your actual physical state. Like, that's not something that you see happen very often. That's a cool concept.
Right. And so now moving forward too, so now we understand what the Titan is. Like, it's still not said, but we understand it's just a bunch of genetic material from Earth, so we understand that it is the life of Earth. And then what happens now that they're on the Titan, Tyler? What happens after they discover what it is?
Well, they found the progenitor of the new Earth, and they stumble across a hologram of Kale's father. And he tells him, like, hey, Kale, if you're seeing this...
Just like that, same voice acting. Hey, Kale, if you're seeing this.
Well, they apparently they had to reanimate his lip flaps, I think 3 or 4 times, because the execs kept demanding rewrites of like the dialogue. So that scene with Ron Perlman delivering those lines, that was probably his 4th time getting called in to record those. So
Ron Perlman got called because he did the original voice acting for Fallout.
He's a really good voice actor. I love Ron Perlman. I think he's awesome.
Yeah, and he got paid a sandwich. For Fallout.
I don't think he was super into this one, or I think it was. I think we can assume that he had probably recorded a lot of his lines many times.
This was about when Hellboy was about to go into pre-production.
I think so, yeah.
So around that time anyway. But yeah, no, probably not something he was a fan of. I mean, I can tell he wasn't a fan of this. Like, the proof is in the pudding, and the pudding is awful. It's like Mountain Dew pudding. But so he gets the hologram from his dad explaining kind of the future and what that holds. And then what happens, Andrew?
This is when Torso and Creed make their way to the Titan. They have sifted through that ice asteroid field, and they're leaving the ship. They're going to leave Goon and Kangaroo Ricketts behind. And when they do this,
the Kangaroo and Ricketts at once. Like, instead of just Mrs. Ricketts or Mrs. Kangaroo, it was Miss Kangaroo Ricketts.
Whatever. It works. Kangaroo Ricketts. And as they're leaving the ship, Corso's like, I don't trust them. Something's off. And Freed's like, oh, I've taken care of it. And he gives Kangaroo Ricketts a bomb, essentially, that he's going to set off and detonate to hopefully kill them both, which he does. And it seemingly kills Sweet Goon. Goon's gone, it seems. And we got to move on with our lives as Preed and Corso make their way into the Titan.
This is where kids and adults began weeping in the theater.
Yeah.
Is when Goon left this movie.
I think this is when people got up and left the theater.
They just stormed out.
Yeah,
They started
like, there's
punching
no reason.
people in the lobby on the way out.
Yeah, turn around their seats. So at this point,
turned around in their seats when Goon died.
Can you like?
They just saw everyone in the theater, regardless of age, just turns around, pouting, his face
because Goon died.
Oh.
What a beloved character, Trevor. We're talking to you at this one.
He's definitely listening.
Yeah, Trevor, totally not listening. And this is where we get not a double cross, but a triple cross, because. And this is just shoehorned in there. This doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So Preed then turns on Corso and...
Please relieve your firearm, Captain.
Right. Yeah, and he's just like... Because he gets more money if he...
He's just
cuts
a
out
scumbag.
Corso.
You know?
Yeah, it's just like...
He's in for the love of the game. Like, he just loves being a scumbag.
He says if I kill all three of you, I'll get double the cut or something like that. So now... Because the Dredge obviously want all humans eradicated from the planet system.
And I've got one here too. When Preed takes the gun, the camera like arcs around him in 3D as he's throwing it off the ledge. And this is a really good like tracking shot. This is a really good moving camera shot. Did you guys remember that one?
Yeah.
It's just a really nice shot. Like, I think it's probably, I would say it's almost, I think that'd probably be the one that jumped out the most to me. Is like, this is a exceptionally well done,
right,
like 2D 3D hybrid.
Yeah, it was
a
really great shot. Yeah, and so now we get a battle between Kale, Preed, Akima,
and Corso,
and
Akima gets shot.
Yeah,
immediately.
Akima gets shot immediately because this movie not Bechdel test passing. And then we're getting this battle between Kale and Preed. And then at one point, Corso, coming to his senses, fucking snaps Preed's neck. Like, we're just in a Rambo movie. And it's
very impressive.
It's very graphic, too, because you see, like, Preed's, like, neck bones spin out of his neck. And then you see his tongue whip around and his eyes just roll back in the back of his head. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, there's the Don Bluth we've all been waiting for.
Well, not only that, but he just, like, hurls his lifeless corpse down the stairs like a sack of potatoes, and he just hits the ground with like the Family Guy like death fall pose.
It was very satisfying, though. It was very satisfying.
He got his shit rocked, like,
and he deserved that. He absolutely deserved it.
It just kind of came out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting, because like nothing in this movie's been that graphic, and then all of a sudden, and they do not.
You don't think the entire population of Earth getting vaporized is
not as graphic as Nathan Lane having his neck snapped and he's thrown down a flight of stairs.
Down a ladder. Yeah.
But now the dredge are bearing down on Kale and the crew, and now Corso's had a change of heart, just like that. And Tyler, I want to go back to your commentary earlier with Don Bluth. It just makes this feel like one of those scenes where, like, yeah, the turn happened so quickly, and now he's turned back, and that happened so quickly. So now his character just feels untrustworthy. He didn't really earn the loyalty that they're trying to get the audience to give him.
Yeah, it definitely seems like they were not able to dedicate as much time as they wanted to actually foreshadowing his flip, and B, showing his inner turmoil. We got a little bit of that in the scene earlier where we have a bonding moment. I don't think we talked about this one, but when they're flying with the Wake Angels, Don Bluth said that this was meant to be like the bonding moment, like a kind of a surrogate father-son type situation where we're going to see a little bit more personal time between Kale and Corso. It's one of the few instances that they actually had.
Do we get to this point where Kale turns on the Titan? Does that happen now?
That's the last thing that happens right now. So Preed just got clapped, R.I.P., and then the Dredge have found them.
The Dredge have found him, and then we get into this scene where, because it's now where Kale's trying to turn on the Titan with his ring, and the Dredge are bearing down, and Corso fends off some of the Dredge for Kale while he's making his way up into the cockpit of the pilot's thing. And I will say, so Kale puts on this kind of spacesuit, this kind of like armor spacesuit that allows him to move through space. I actually had this toy as a kid.
Did you bring it?
No, I do not have it anymore.
It's so random. I'm surprised they sold that.
Yeah,
like I don't know.
I had a few Dredge action figures too, but yeah, they had a Kale action figure, and it came with this suit, and I just remember it. I didn't have a lot of toys from this movie, but I do remember that one.
So I think we might want to focus on the Dredge besieging the Titan before we do the sacrifice thing. The Dredge have located the Titan, and now they're laying siege to the Titan. They're just absolutely shooting the shit out of it, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to blow it up.
And all seems lost. Who's coming?
Everybody's turned back around in their seats because here comes Goon.
I'd say they're looking over their shoulders, and who do we see but Goon? Goon has survived a point-blank explosion, and they're just perfectly fine. Goon is just like not even worse for wear. His clothes are not even tattered.
Because it's Goon.
And so he and Stith joins Akima.
Wait, isn't this the part where Goon, to like survive, there's a deleted scene of him chugging some Mountain Dew Code Red, and it just like brings him back to life?
No, that was in the movie. I don't know what movie you were watching. You must have been watching like a theatrical cut, not the director's cut.
Probably. But yeah, and so Goon shows up, and he fends off some Dredge.
And as Goon is kicking ass, Goon drops his iconic catchphrase, "Goon's your daddy," as he's lighting up the Dredge.
You know that theater came unglued.
And from the man himself, Don Bluth, test audiences loved "Goon's Your Daddy." That was a big hit with the test audiences. They were cheering whenever "Goon's Your Daddy" showed up. The audiences turned back around in their seats. They're locked in. They're on the edge of their seats. Stith and Akima are fending off the Dredge with the turrets, but those guns are just getting taken down left and right. It's a losing battle. They're getting overwhelmed. And I believe this is the part where...
Yeah, so after they take all the Dredge down, this is the part where Kale turns on the Titan, which I think he already turned it on at one point, but he had to quickly, like, the Dredge showed up. So to turn it on, it's this, like, little console in the middle, the cockpit where Kale puts the ring on it. It's just a giant cylinder thing. And Andrew, I just got to say, man, me and Tyler set a timer, and I'm so proud of you for not making a cock ring joke until we got to this point in the episode. So congrats. You did way better than I thought you would have, because I was expecting that to come from you.
It's funny. I think I thought about that in the moment, but it wasn't. I don't know. It wasn't as lasting as he thought it was going to be for me, I guess. So
when it happened, we were both just like
Me and Tyler looked at each other with like, Andrew's making a cock ring joke.
Well-
It's coming.
Well, we were also thinking at the beginning when he gets the ring, we were just wondering if you're going to make the joke there or at this point. And it's really impressive that you're able to hold it off until this late
I
in the
didn't
movie.
stoop to that level.
We
Good on
feel-
me.
So proud of you, Andrew. Like you really,
Thank you.
You really did well there. But anyway, so he turns on the Titan, and what happens after that? He turns on the Titan, Andrew.
Well, he learns that it's not going to completely power up, and there's other shit he's got to do, essentially. Something with the energy field, or I don't know, the cell turbines, or whatever his dad says. Because I think doesn't his dad come back on the hologram, or on the hologram that he originally played? He's like, it's not going to run if this isn't doing this, something like that, right?
Yeah.
There is something is gumming up the plumbing in the Titan, and Kale has to go fix it. This is when he dons the spacesuit,
Yeah.
tries to handle it himself.
And Tyler carries away there.
Well, he gets down to the source of the problem, and guess who's fine? Corso is down there too, and he's in a spacesuit. And this is the part where Kale, he's like, get the fuck out of here or whatever, and he kind of noble sacrifices himself to complete the chain in this, right?
They need the energy beam from the dredge, and he places himself on the receptors essentially as a target for them to beam that exact spot to power up the Titan. And he sacrifices himself in the process, but it's for the greater good, because that brings us to what the sole purpose of the Titan is. And I don't want to pass up to someone else before I butcher anything else.
Yeah, Tyler, what's the sole purpose of the Titan?
Well, the Titan begins to glow and shoot beams out of every orifice, and it basically sucks up the entirety of the dredge fleet. And since they're beings of pure energy, it uses the entire dredge fleet to power a new Big Bang, basically, that creates a new Earth.
Yeah.
And it's remarkably fast how this creates an Earth. It makes an Earth in like 15 minutes. Like, they are just ready to go. But yeah, we are now officially
at the tail end. Yeah.
One thing that I want to add, though, is when the Titan took on that energy shot from the dredge, obviously Tyler alluded, it started shooting energy outwards every which direction. It collided with that energy shot from the dredge, which kind of sent the beam back towards the dredge's mothership, effectively wiping them all out.
Oh, gotcha.
It was like the classic Harry Potter Voldemort ending when they shoot their spells at each other and the red overpowers the green, killing Voldemort. It was just like that. The red beam from the Titan overpowered the dredge's like light icy blue, and it fucking eviscerated the entire civilization. The dredge are no more. Which then leads us to the next part, of course.
Well, the next part is just Kale and Akima, the new Earth. I guess it's just New Earth. But they're standing there and embracing, and now I guess they're dating, because that's how every movie with a male and female character has to end. And then we're like, I was like looking at Tyler, and I was like, they have nothing on this Earth. I hope someone arrives with some building materials. And then just as I said that, we look up into space and we see all the humans from across the galaxy or across the universe like start to form and head to New Earth. And I was like, did they get a beacon? Like, what did I miss?
Well, I'll say this about the New Earth scene. The CG is pretty rough.
It wasn't good.
Like, terrain-wise, this is looking pretty rough. It looks a lot like Bryce 3D. Which, hey, yeah. I love Bryce, but, this part looked rough. And it's no slight on the crew, because the second this showed up on screen, Don Bluth just said, this shot could have used some more time. Like, just a beat and then that line. And that whole thing was done in 2 weeks. Like, the New Earth environment.
It took them a year to explode the original Earth in 2 weeks to build it.
Compare with 2 weeks. So this was certainly a casualty of the time and budget. And what are they calling the New Earth?
Bob.
Bob, baby. Bob. B-O-B. That's it.
Did Don Bluth talk about why they named it Bob?
Yeah, and for the discerning listener, I hope you paid attention earlier.
I'm glad you said listener, because there's probably only one person left at this point.
For
Our friends in Germany.
Yeah, that line was written by Joss Whedon. The Bob line was absolutely a Joss Whedon line, and that line just absolutely sticks out like a sore thumb to me. Like the same with the guard earlier. It just does not fit this movie, if you ask me.
I really hate the fact that Josh Whedon did that to the end of this film, even though like I was glad this movie was over when we got to this point. But anyway, that wraps up Titan AE. I hope you are following along back home because we really made it through it. Tyler, you're our guest. I'm going to start with you. You didn't really have much of a childhood with this one, but talk about watching this movie as an adult, some things you picked up on, how you feel about it now.
I like this movie. I really do. It doesn't crack top 5 Don Bluth films for me, but like it's one of the ones that is greater than the sum of its parts, if you ask me. I think there's a really good film in here, but the final edit just doesn't quite come together like it should.
I can agree with that. Andrew, what about you? How did you feel about this movie? Again, someone who didn't have a childhood with it.
Went into it with no expectations. I didn't know what to expect. I thought it was fairly entertaining. I definitely know that they put a lot of work and a lot of creativity into the animations. A couple subpar voice acting jobs, but there are some other ones that made up for it. The story itself is nothing spectacular, but it was a lost childhood movie that I know now has a cult following, and it was worth the time.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Like,
so me watching it as a kid, I had it on VHS, but I remembered some of this movie, which I didn't think I would, but I think as a kid, like I really enjoyed the visual like aspect of it, because as a kid you're not really following the dialogue and you're not getting really too technical with anything. So I see why I liked this as a kid, because this was right up my alley. But as an adult, I do pinpoint some of the like what Tyler said, like the technical aspects of this movie. Some of them are there, and some of them just fall flat. The voice acting was terrible, other than Nathan Lane and John Leguizamo's, for different reasons.
I thought Bill Pullman was pretty good. I had no issues with him.
He was all right.
Yeah, he was solid.
I wouldn't say anybody was stellar. I wouldn't say anybody put in a great performance.
Not even Goon?
Goon it was like a side. Goon's a legendary character now. But the voice acting was not great. The animation was all over the place, and like learning more from Tyler too over the years, like I've been able to pick up on some more of those things. I don't think it's hard to say. I don't think it's a great movie. I would classify it as kind of a bad movie, but Tyler kind of hit the nail on the head, in my opinion, too. There's a good movie in there somewhere, but it's hard for me to say the package that we got that I really related to it and enjoyed it. It's kind of fun to go down nostalgic road.
I think one thing that really hurt it a lot was the executive meddling and test audiences and rewrites.
Yeah.
It's budgetary concerns. I feel like they inherited a film that was already struggling because, like I said earlier, a year and a half in, Don Bluth and Gary Goldman are brought on. So they inherited something that was already floundering, to my understanding, So coulda, woulda, shoulda, but, like there was a lot of talent in this movie. There really was. And a lot of people really put a lot of effort into it. So I would by no means say this is a bad film. I just wish things had gone their way a little more production-wise,
Yeah, for sure. Well, Tyler, do you think it holds up? That's the big point.
I'm going to give it a hold up. I'll say it holds up. Yeah, I'll do that.
Andrew?
Yeah, I don't think it, like, I don't want to say it, like, doesn't pass with flying colors, but, like, it wasn't a waste of time. It was fairly entertaining, and I know there was maybe too much thought put into it, but yeah, I do think it holds up.
I'm going to be the outcast here, and it's by the skin of its teeth. I went back and forth so much this weekend, being like, I think you could go either way with it. I'm going to say it doesn't hold up because it was really hard to get through the soundtrack. It was really hard to get through the voice acting. And again, it's just a movie that's ahead of its time. I don't think as the package as it is holds up. But to reiterate what Tyler said that I agree on, I think you could probably remaster or redo this movie and it would be 10 times better. But they're not obviously going to do that. So I'm going to say it doesn't hold up. And Tyler, you listen to the show. You know we do like IMDb ratings for fun. Where would you put Titan AE for your IMDb rating?
What would I guess is the user score on IMDb?
What would you give it? And then what would you give it?
What would I give it? God damn it! Oh man, numbers. I give like a 71.
So like a 7.1.
7.1.
Yeah, 7.1. Yeah,
7.1.
That sounds reasonable
Now,
for everything we've said.
And Andrew, what would you give it?
I'm giving it a 6.9. I'm giving a 6.9 because to me it was obvious that there was sexual chemistry between Akima and Kale from the very beginning. And just going to throw that little 6.9 in there as a little ode to that obvious male-female connection. But also, I just didn't think it was that bad. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the spectacle. I didn't hate the voice acting jobs that y'all did. I thought it was an okay movie. Yeah, there's some cheesy parts, but just because it's ahead of its time doesn't mean that it fell flat. It fell flat at that time, but that doesn't mean that further down the road it doesn't do its job. But yeah, 6.9 is what I'm giving it, and I feel pretty confident in that.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 6.1. I think that's where I land on it.
Okay.
But yeah, what do you know what the IMDb rating is, Andrew?
It is 6.8.
Okay, all right. We were right on it, huh?
Yeah.
We kind of nailed our review of it.
Sure.
Well, Tyler, this kind of wraps it up for us. Thanks for being on the show. Thanks for bringing Titan AE and some Don Bluth knowledge to us. At this moment in time, tell everybody what you got going on, where they can find you, where they can look for future updates.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on Instagram at Tyler3DBlast. And I am currently working on a short film with our good buddy Leif, who did the title track for Hold Up.
Who will be on the show one day.
This
Guarantee
is a threat.
it. It's a threat.
And it's a live-action / animated hybrid short starring just some guy you might know. It's this guy. Andrew's not here, but I'm pointing at where he would be if he was here.
Pointing all the way up to Louisville from wherever he's sitting.
Yeah, this guy's the star of the show.
Northwest of where you are. So yeah, point northwest, and that's me. But yeah, I'm in it with y'all. We collaborated. It was a good time.
We look like a bunch of idiots, like trying to point around his apartment, trying to find Louisville, Kentucky.
but yeah, no, Andrew absolutely killed it in this short film, and we're planning to launch it at some point this year. So
sweet.
Yeah, we will see. But yeah, just stay tuned.
Yeah, you can follow Tyler on Instagram. I'm sure you'll drop updates. We may drop an update this episode. You never know.
Yeah, we may actually have a little teaser for the aforementioned short film.
Yeah, stay tuned. Maybe after this episode. Yeah.
That's news to me.
Yeah, wait for it.
Wouldn't it be funny if we just didn't have one and just like it just cuts to credits like right here?
I could do that. I could do either or. We'll see what happens. Money talks, right? So Blue Chew still hasn't given me anything, and we keep hyping them up, but. You know, that about wraps up our time. You know what we do here. We reach into your childhood nostalgia, pull the movies from your past out. Today, we found Titan AE in the bone marrow of your mind. Pulled it out, found out 2-1, it holds up. So maybe something you should go catch. Look at Don Bluth in a different light. Tyler, again, thank you for being on the show. It's been a long time coming. We will bring you back if you want to be back on if Andrew didn't run you off.
Yeah, hey, it's good to be here. And yeah, when's your next Don Bluth film?
Troll in Central Park coming down the road.
Never mind.
Andrew, you want to tell the audience what we're doing next week?
I think we're doing a movie about ants. I think it's called Ants, but spelled with a Z. Is that correct?
Yes, it's ants with a Z. Not zombie ants, but just ants. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok to find out what's coming down the pipe. As for what's coming down the pipe next week, it is ants. So we'll see you all next week.
Oh, that Andrew guy cracks me up. Y'all thought nostalgia was a dangerous game. Just wait until you try cereal. Here's an exclusive sneak peek of Homunculus. Let's take a listen.
Hey, Hold Up listeners. Are you tired of those bogus normie senses? Every time you take a delicious brainy bite of Homunculus, your mind is taken on a sensory safari.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're saying, dude.
So, everything really is connected?
Wait!
Who was that guy?
Homunculos. Feel everything one bite at a time.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Coming soon.